Hey, what's up guys? I'm making this video to show you guys three of the biggest habits that I used to go from 180 pounds back in around December 2024 to around 148 to 150 pounds now July 15, 2025. I made this transformation over this long period of time, which might not seem crazy because it is about a little bit more than 30 pounds, which it is pretty crazy, considering that I did have quite a bit of muscle back then and I was able to retain, if not build, a little bit of extra muscle now that I'm 30 pounds less. But yeah, I did a lot of different things during this whole 6+ month time frame. However, these are the three biggest benefits or the three biggest habits which allowed me to go from this to this without need of dieting harshly or doing extra things which are just gonna make this journey a whole lot harder for you. Starting with number one, it's going to be fasting. Fasting is an amazing tool which I use more in the beginning of my cutting journey. Now, big warning here because a lot of people will hear the word fasting and they'll take it way too much to the extreme. And I would say that I definitely made this mistake. However, what is the good way and the proper way of actually fasting if you want weight loss and you want to not harm your body and not have any negative side effects? Well, firstly, fasting is essentially just the point in which your body has finished digesting all the food from the previous day. Usually, the way that the most common way to fast is just to do a 12-hour fast from the moment that you ate your last meal to the moment on the next day when you break your fast. Hence why it's called breakfast. But yes, you want to use fasting as a tool. The way that I used it, it was more specifically in the beginning of my cutting journey. I would fast from around 9 p.m. To around 12 p.m. the next day. So it would be quite a bit of an extensive fast. Now you don't want to do what I did, which was just take it to the extreme. Sometimes I would fast until 1, 2, 3 p.m. It's okay if you do it, in the beginning it's just until 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m. Just a few hours after you wake up is usually a good place to start. But the reason why I don't recommend that you do it to the extreme, especially early on, is because fasting and your body's not very used to it, right? If you're not used to fasting at all, and you just jump from not fasting at all to fasting 4, 5, 6 hours during the day, you're going to trigger certain cues when it comes to your hunger that are gonna make you basically binge eat for the rest of the day. And you don't want this to happen. So the best way to do this is by just starting with a 1 hour, 2 hour fast after you wake up, and then extending that. Let's say you wake up at 8 a.m. You want to get to the point in which you can fast until around 12 p.m. And I actually still do this to some extent. Not 100% because I do like to have a light snack before I go to the gym because I go to the gym in the morning. However, this is more for my people that are not working out first thing in the morning because I definitely do not recommend you do this. You should completely skip this step if you do work out first thing in the morning. But if you don't, there's an amazing way to save your calories for later during the day. Because optimally, if you're trying to lose weight, if you only eat 2 meals per day, which is going to be a lot easier if you do fast until around midday, you're going to save a lot of calories and it's going to be much easier for your body to to stay in that caloric deficit, which is essentially going to lead you to losing weight. Habit number two is going to be drinking plenty of water. Now, what is plenty of water? This might seem like the most basic habit, something that you've always been told during your whole life. However, if you do it strategically, it can actually have tremendous benefits. And at the same time, just like with anything else, right? Too much of something is still bad. Too much of a good thing is also bad. So I don't recommend that you guys should just, be chugging water every few minutes either, because this can actually be counterproductive as well. If you drink too much water, you'll actually flush out essential minerals and vitamins that your body needs. If you're, for example, whenever you're peeing and your pee is quite literally too clear, that's actually bad. You want to be in a mid range where it's not 100% clear, but it's also not yellow. But yeah, what do I mean when I say that that you want to use this strategically? the best way that I would recommend that you guys to use this habit is to drink 16 ounces, which is literally just a water bottle, or your regular water bottle, or a glass full of water before you have your meal, before every single meal. This is the absolute best way. Not only does it aid digestion, but it's going to reduce your appetite by quite a bit. There's many of studies that show that by drinking water before your meals, you'll actually reduce your appetite. And there's been various studies of different groups of people. One of them drank water before their meals, the other one didn't. They both lost weight. However, the one that did drink water were able to lose a significant amount more weight than the group that didn't. But yeah, essentially you just want to use this to your advantage, because just think about it. You're filling your stomach up. There's only so much fluid and solids that your body can intake at once. So if you fill yourself up with water before a meal, which is nothing crazy, just 16 ounces, of course you're gonna feel satiated much quicker. So use that to your advantage. It doesn't mean that you're gonna completely cut out your appetite and you're not going to the extreme, taking energy drinks or taking artificial sweeteners to reduce your appetite. No, if you're hungry, eat, especially if it's a good meal. However, always drinking water before your meal is gonna be beneficial. There's nothing wrong with it as long as you're not taking it to the extreme. And the final, and I think this is the best benefit, or the best habit, which allowed me to go from make such a significant difference in my body composition and my body fat percentage. I was literally at 20+% in that first picture that I showed you guys back then. Now I'm at around 10 to 15% body fat, right? It is quite a bit of a difference, and I have to owe it to this habit, which is walking. Walking is one of the most underestimated habits which all of us can do. Why? Because it's something that we all already do, and just like the habit of drinking more water, it's something that we always disregard because it seems so simple. It's crazy. Us as humans, we see things that are so simple, and it's almost like we think that we're so above it that we just completely knock it off. We just completely knock it. We don't even try it because we think that it's not going to make a difference. Because it might seem so simple. However, this is one of the things that until you start doing it and actually start putting in a little bit of effort to at least hit 7,000 steps every single day, preferably closer to 10,000, you're not going to see the difference and you're not going to take it seriously. However, just try it. Even if you think it's never going to work or it's never going to be beneficial, just think about it. All of our ancestors, all they did was walk. You were built for walking. You were actually built more to walk than to hold on to muscle mass. But the point is that although it might seem like such a small ROI activity, it has the highest ROI, return on investment, from all these habits, simply because you're inputting such a little amount of effort and energy and time when it comes to walking. You can literally take a 20-minute walk outside and get 2,000, 3,000 steps, depending on how fast you walk and all of that. And that's gonna stack up in the end, because I always preach that you shouldn't use cardio or walking as an excuse to eat more or to build your caloric deficit. But it doesn't mean that you can't supplement it. And what I mean by that is that you shouldn't rely on walking to get to your caloric deficit and lose weight. You should always worry about your nutrition first, and then supplement it with that. However, it doesn't mean that this cannot stack up over time. Those extra 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 steps that you're gonna get by actually getting 10,000 steps every single day, they stack up at the end of the week. Because if you're not aware, the way that your body works, it's not so much about the calories that you eat in a day, but more about the calories that you eat in a week. 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories, and a person can burn up to 200, 300 calories extra every single day just by taking those 5,000 steps, which literally they cost you nothing. No time, no effort, no stress on your body, which is gonna have you struggling with recovery. It has absolutely no extra effort that you have to put in for an unlimited amount of upside. absolutely no downside with an unlimited amount of upside, which is the exact reason why I think this is the most powerful habit. I started doing this, it's so easy, and I started reaching the benefits so early on to the point that I still do this to this day, just to maintain a healthy body fat percentage while still being able to, eat foods that I enjoy. Of course, I do everything in moderation. However, just walking and moving around more throughout the day, not in a way that it's gonna have a big toll on my body. Not doing HIIT cardio, just doing steady state cardio. Sometimes if I can, most of the time actually, not just walking but doing an incline walk in a treadmill at a 15% incline is an even greater way to make this habit basically be on steroids. But yeah, those extra 200 300 calories that you're gonna burn every single day, just think about it. That's an extra 2,000 calories already, at least in a week, that you're gonna be burning extra. So that's already half a pound of fat that you wouldn't have lost if you didn't invest those extra 10 15 minutes of walking every single day. But yeah, by stacking up all of these habits, I was able to go from this to this without the need of worrying so much about my what I'm eating. Of course, I still watch what I ate, but I wasn't necessarily counting my calories until the point where I actually wanted to get very, very lean. But for the most part, the first 4 to 5 months of my cutting process, this is all I did. I just focused on these small habits, on these few simple rules. It wasn't anything hardcore. I was still, enjoying, a bite of this, sip of that, but still being able to enjoy my life. And thanks to all of these habits that were backing me up, I was able to go from that to this, lose them at least 20 25 pounds alone just from doing these habits alone. So take this into account, apply this into your life, and if you would like to work with me one-on-one, I have a link down below that you can use to apply for and if you would like to work one-on-one with me, I have a link down below for a free 15-minute fitness consultation call. But thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.